if you don't have goals, somebody will make you part of theirs. So by default, no goals, no objectives, somebody is including you in their plan to get to their goals. So I'm always in that mindset of I'm going to protect you from that ever happening by making sure that your personal goals are forefront so that you're interweaving what others want and need from you into what you want so that everybody is happy, not just one person.
I'm Tiffany Souter, entrepreneur, wife, mom to 4 girls, and a woman figuring it out just like you. If you're tired of living a life of have to and finally ready to build a life of want to, then you're in the right place. Come on, let's go build your life of and.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Life of And. I'm your host, Tiffany Souter, and I'm in the studio again today with Brian Kavicky, our partners here at Life of And from Lucian. He does such an amazing job of helping me in my personal growth, my business growth, and so many businesses that I'm invested in, and so excited to have him back on the microphone today. We're going to be talking about, so we have like 100 days left in the year in 2025, and I think there can be this impetus to go to this muscle of, I need to finish strong. We need to roll. We need to rock and roll. It's like 100 days, final push. But we're going to unpack today in this episode what really is the formula for how we finish this really busy season in a way that gives us confidence, excitement, and information as we get into next year. And how do we feel confident September 1st, January 1st, March 31st, and not go through these seasons of massive resets and I'm in low, I'm in medium, and I'm in high gear. How do we get to a place where we're putting sustainable effort together? So we're going to unpack that today. Yeah? Sorry.
Yeah.
So we were, kind of prepping for this off microphone a little bit here. And I said to you, I said, as I'm talking to people, we're in back to school season, everybody's coming out of summer, going into fall, people are so tired. I feel like that's how they feel. And you were like, oh, here's what that is.
But think about you had the summer period of time where people are going, well, I have to balance my time because I have kids out of school or whatever. And then they kind of go back and they take a breath. And then they realize, well, I have to do this now. I have to do this now. I have to do this now. And they're tired because it just feels like another cycle. It just feels like another back to school season. It just feels like another, we're getting ready for budgeting. We have to do this. We have to do this. But if you ask them, what are you chasing? What is your goal? What are you looking forward to at the end of next year? Nobody has a clue. They're so focused on what's in front of them or what's next or what even kind of the finish the year. That's we're 2 to 3 months away from that. It's not a lot. And when you feel like there's no destination, you're just going to be worn out the same way if you're running a race. You've been running a half marathon and we can't see the finish line. All of a sudden you see the finish line and you go, oh, there it is. Now I can sprint because I have the energy left that I can tap to do that. But if I never see the finish line, you're just going to go, I feel like I'm just running.
Well, even you saying I've signed up for a half marathon, there's a defined destination even in that description versus I'm running an infinite race,
Correct.
Which is what our minds can feel like our, quote, daily grind is doing. And so you're saying it's really just losing that connection or maybe never having defined an understanding of these somewhat dull daily behaviors are connected to this outcome that I'm excited about in my life. And when I do these things, I know it's going to create this outcome. And so that takes the tiredness away. Is that an oversimplification?
No, it's not. Everything that I'm doing that is super boring, super monotonous, and really what you probably don't want to be doing is only exciting or good or useful or repeatable if it leads to something that is going to be considered by you to be progress. Mm-hmm. So you won't do stuff that you don't think benefits you, or you'll switch to short-term benefit because who cares? Mm-hmm. It's sort of what habits are based on, repeatable stuff. All of those things are, why am I doing this? Is this a waste of my time or is it leading to something?
Mm-hmm. What I want to do in this broader episode is there's like this time, there's 100 days left in the year. If we're running businesses or managing quotas or leading teams, we have a period of time that's starting to get fairly finite of like, I've got to hit 2025 goals and I need to manage resources, time, allocation of energy against those things. I also am going to have either a self-imposed or forced planning process for 2026, allocating resources to that well. And then I have learned by my own mistakes, if you don't roll into the year with some momentum and you start flat-footed, you screwed. Like Q1 goes real fast. If you come in January 8th and you're just trying to get yourself organized. Like I have made that mistake before and it is horrible. So you're creating momentum for next year. You're planning so that you know what a success of 2026 looks like. Plus you're trying to execute on the rest of the year. So like, how do we do that well? And even just if talking about it, I start to be like, okay, I'll do this. And then this spreadsheet, this, and like, I start jumping all over the place. How do you lead someone through that thinking? And how do we stick the landing on these really critical pieces as a leader to get right?
Let me ask you a question first. Could you downloaded that somewhat from your perspective? Is what if I told you that you didn't have 100 days?
Okay.
You had 100 days in August. And now if you look at where you are today and you take out Thanksgiving, the 2 weeks at the end of the year, the weekends that you already can't do work stuff with and are probably going through, you're out of days. Mm-hmm. So what would your thinking be given that you have less time than you thought?
Yeah.
What would you do?
I would probably say, how far do I think I can get?
And you'd go back to short-term thinking, like, what can I do? What's most important? What's critical? So that's what that time constraint forces you to look at your priorities. So you set your priorities by, I know where I am. I know what must be accomplished by the end of the year. All the other stuff that isn't a must needs to come off my plate immediately because I just don't have time. It's not important. It doesn't fit. And if you can take it off your plate, in other words, it's I'd like to, or it would be good if, it should come off. Mm-hmm. The next thing that you would do is you would look at what your 2026 goal is. And if you don't have a goal, set one, because I can't begin the planning process at all if I don't know what my destination is. And then what you do is you combine those and you say, okay, these are the things that have to be done. This is the planning process that I have to have. How do I combine all of this in order to give me the momentum to get me to the place that I need to be? Because your fourth quarter dictates your first quarter.
Totally. But I'm feeling this like, okay, can we walk through my actual life?
Yeah.
So I have, in the Life of And world, I have a couple of events that I want to continue testing through the end of the year. September, October, until like maybe November 8th was kind of my window, and I just would have put things on the calendar. And then nobody really wants to like go to other things. So I'm looking at it and saying, okay, I've got to put these things on the calendar, recruit people to these events, and then see how they go. Because I'm going to learn some stuff. And then I'm like, should I go ahead and put my Q1 dates on the calendar so that at these events I can say, hey, if you love this or you have a referral, yours are January and February dates? Because if I wait until everybody's back from the holidays, I'm going to be screwed.
So you just did it. If I'm not thinking about next year right now, then I don't know what I want to learn. How am I going to know in those events whether I ask for referrals or I just kill this thing? Mm-hmm. Like you have to go, what do I need to know? What is the direction I have to have? What are the dates that I'm holding in case I need them? Because you just block them out.
Because one of my proof points is if people said, this is amazing, yes, I have 4 friends. Because one of the things that my hypotheses on these events is, A, to create an incredible experience for people. It's memorable, they feel connected, they feel seen. And women are so tribal. We want to share what we've bought, the peanut butter we got that was amazing, like always sharing that stuff. So I think one of my hypotheses on these events is if they stand out, then women will naturally want to share it. And so I'm answering my own question by putting those dates in Q1 and proving or disproving whether or not the event will stand out enough for people to say, I want to share this with the closest people in my life.
Yeah, it is easier to change or remove than it is to create. So anything you're going to have to create, you do ahead of that. Block it.
Yeah. You've also told me, I think you're so good at not holding things so sacred, where you're like, if you put the date or some initiative and just people don't bite, just cancel.
Yeah.
It's like not that deep.
But if you don't have the...
So deep for me, but it's so, you're just like, feel like we didn't get enough people to fill it. It's fine. But it's, nobody cares. Nobody does. Well, in your own life, what are you looking at? What does finishing 2026 strong look like? And or 2025 strong. And what are the things you're doing specifically set 2026 way?
So 2025's, all of 2025's goals and priorities were set before October of 2024. So I'm really working the end of my plan as I start to plan for the next season of 2026. So it's measuring where am I on track, where am I off track, and then looking at what do I have to do. But I measure everything against what are my habits, what are my activities, what are my daily things that I have to hit, what are the metrics I have to hit every single day or week, so that all of those things happen, and then constantly looking at that and going, okay, I'm on track or off. So I don't have the problem where I'm getting to September and going, oh my gosh, I'm so far behind.
Mm-hmm.
I know all the time if I'm on track or off track all the time, and I'm making adjustments all the time. So there's a lot less pressure and stress because I'm tweaking versus reinventing what I do all the time.
So let's dig in there. The last episode or two with you, I've kind of teased this idea of a cookbook. Do you use a cookbook to manage these daily behaviors?
Yes, I track heavily against.
And how many years have you been using the cookbook?
So there were phases where I used cookbook very heavily. I reintroduced the cookbook a couple of years ago because as my habits in my sort of the last season I was in were so ingrained, I didn't need to track it because I was going to do it anyway. Mm-hmm. But when I changed little things like here's my priority shifts or here's changes in my role, and this is what my focus, I went, oh, I have to go back to this because I don't have this so ingrained that it's intuitive that if I didn't do it, it's bothering me. I actually have to see it like, oh, I didn't do that to get myself back on track.
Oh, that's so good. So let's talk about what a cookbook is, because I feel like the life of And is all about equipping us with tools, particularly in seasons of change. Because that's when like at least for me, my senses are all acute. Everything's a mess. I'm suddenly in like reactive mode. Like when your role changes, it's like I had my daily behavior so tuned in. My time was matching my priorities in a way that was so dialed in. There was no friction in my behavior getting my outcomes to happen. And then when the outcomes need to change, I'm not in the job where somebody's going to come and tell me how to spend my time. And so I have to self-facilitate.
Correct.
That evolution of what am I doing and not doing with my time and money. That is hard. It's hard to produce yourself, I think, towards that and to objectively look at what am I spending my time on that is or isn't serving where I'm going. So this cookbook tool is a massive, I'm like clinging to mine right now. And it is so helpful. So let's talk about what it is. Let's talk about what's on yours. I can talk about what's on mine because I'm in this change. It's like exactly right. It's such a big tool in this change season.
So the formula is sort of goals, plan, action. Goals are short-term, long-term, daily, those kinds of things. So you're basically saying, what does my long-term look like? And how do I get that into smaller chunks? So I could say, this is what my year has to look like. So what does my month have to look like? What does my week have to look like? What does my day have to look like? What does my hour have to look like? And then the closer you can get it to the hour or the minutes, the more you tend to get your goals hit because you're focusing all of your attention. And there's sort of two ways to do that. One is your calendar reflects your priorities. So if I look at your calendar and I see open space or I see things that are not relevant to your goals, I'll know that somebody took that time from you and put something on their calendar because you didn't have somebody there. So you're not protecting your time. You're not protecting where your activities are during the day or when they occur. The cookbook takes the place of making sure that all of those things happen, whether they're on my calendar or not, and they're actual behaviors that you have. So this is what I'm going to do. So an example would be, if I was a salesperson, it's how many attempts at prospecting is going to have. If I'm a leader of people, it's how many one-on-ones am I going to have, or how many times am I going to touch my people, or how many times am I going to ask this question a week? If I'm a mom, it's do I have a one-on-one time with all my kids every single week? And do we have a time out on the town once a month? I'm making sure that I'm scheduling the time, I'm blocking the time and doing that time. And if it doesn't happen, it just stands out as, oh, I didn't do that. Mm-hmm. And the closer you get to daily and weekly, the better. So for me, it's things like, how many times am I working out? What are my workouts? What's my Bible study? How many times am I doing that a week? When am I eating? What am I eating is all planned out. How many times am I posting on LinkedIn? How many referrals am I asking to? How am I approaching speaking events? And all of those things are mapped out. And that gives you the freedom that if I miss one, like I don't do 3 posts a week on LinkedIn, I now have 6 to do. So it doesn't go away. It just says, oh, I know what I have to do to get back on track because those are the things that have matter.
So you will literally make yours be additive to the next week.
Yeah. If it was important to put on there, I have to make it up.
So you said to me the words, a cookbook keeps you on the boring.
Yes.
I love that statement.
Yeah. The cookbook keeps you on the boring because all of the things that make money or show productivity or give results are not exciting. One of the things for my workouts is my trainer had said, after all this analysis of what I was doing and how I was working out, he said, I need you to do your cardio at a heartbeat of 109. So I literally walk or cycle at a heartbeat at 109. That means it doesn't get faster. It doesn't get slower. It just sits there. You know how boring it is to sit at a 109 heartbeat where that's all you're watching. So then I habit stack and I go, well, here's the time I can listen to this. Here's the time I can do these things because I'm not going to sit there and stare at a heartbeat. I got to just do other stuff. So you figure out how to make it work.
I want to take a quick moment to thank my partners at Share Your Genius. For the past 4 years, they have been an incredible part of my journey behind the microphone. Share Your Genius is a content and podcast production agency that helps leaders and brands bring their message to life. So whether you're trying to find your voice, develop a content strategy, or get your leader behind a microphone, they're going to help you make it simple, strategic, and impactful.
One of the things I've learned, because I've reintroduced, when you and I first started working together and I was the primary revenue producer for the agency, I had a cookbook that was like, and I like color coded my calendar on this is how many referral meetings I'm going to have a week. This is how many networking events I'm going to go to in a month. This is how many cold calls I'm going to make in a day. So many clients I'm going to touch. This is how many like core values I'm going to address a week to the agency, like those kinds of things that you're facilitating. So I fell away from that. And then as I'm focusing, I also found, because when you rattle off your cookbook, you have like, I don't know, 12 things on there. I was shutting down too much change all at one time. And so I started with 3. And then I was like, once I'll do those for 2 or 3 weeks and then I'll add another one. But I'm like, it might take me a year to get my full cookbook built where I'm like, this is in my cadence, in my rhythm. But it's just like when you start a fitness journey, you can't change every behavior at the exact same time. It's just too much change to ingest. So that was a thing. I don't know if you coach that, but that was an observation at my current speed of life.
Well, but that's you. So that's not everybody. Okay. Some people can change everything at once. Yeah. Some people can only say, I can only do this one at a time, and I have to morph or transform my way into it. I'm more of you give me a roadmap, I will follow it with discipline.
You can't change everything at the same time.
I'll change everything at the same time.
I cannot ingest it. That doesn't make one right, one wrong. Is that true?
No, it's
just knowing you're
so the thing between right and wrong is not how it's executed. It's understanding what the basis of the importance of the execution is. So whether it's I'm going to change one thing and stick with that a week, and then I'll see if that works and do it again. That's totally okay because that's what you need to do. But you're still prioritizing the one thing that matters the most. Mm-hmm. If you are somebody that has the capability to say, I could change 10 things at once, then there's no reason to do one thing because I can embrace that change immediately and go, I'm good with change. I'll change it just because I feel like it. That's okay.
Is that like a personality thing? Is it a life thing? Like, what is it?
It's both. So if you think personality is disc, higher Ds will change stuff to change. People that cling to habits or are emotionally more connected won't do that because they think they're losing something. So it's can I disconnect emotionally from it? If it's season of life, it's wisdom and experience. This is how I did it before. You said, well, I could do 3 things. I'd argue there was a time in your life where one change would have been hard. You just have learned to adapt. So it's where you are in life, what your experience is, your ability to stick to habits and make decisions and commitments for yourself. All that plays in.
I'm really bad at habits. It takes so much friction for me.
I can get it to the place where it's not identifiable, like where it takes a while for me.
But
Because I love new.
it takes 21 days anyway.
Yeah. Which is, that's a long. It's a quote unquote long time when you're in it. It's so short when you think there's like 14 quote major changes you could make over the course of a year. If you take 20 on the answer, 65, but I think it's about 14, which is a huge number actually. What you think about, and so that's where I go to in my head. I'm like, if I do things one at a time, that's still massive change. Because I implode, I don't know, for several reasons. Like if I can't do it perfectly, I start over instead of being like, oh, let me just adjust. I don't know. I just get rhythm in my head.
Well, be careful how you say that. You said the phrase, I'm bad at habits. That dictates you're bad at habits. If you said it differently.
I hate these conversations with you. Whose idea was this? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, it's more the, how do I get good at habits, or I want to be better at habits, actually opens your mind to fix it.
I'm
learning to be better.
startled. Yeah. I'm learning to be better.
Yeah. That's a much more impossible thing than I'm bad at it.
I'm learning to be better at habits.
Yeah.
I am. She is. Okay. So cookbook. I manage mine in a spreadsheet. Same for you?
Yeah.
It's like literally a spreadsheet.
I have a spreadsheet, a task manager with repetitive tasks, putting them on your calendar. There's many different ways, but
And I'm saying there's not like a software you apply.
no.
One of the things I started doing, I don't know if we do this, is at the end of the week, I actually give myself a percentage score. Helps me to see it. So if my goal was 5 and I only got 4, it's like I got an 80% on this. Kind of helps me. Or are you looking at me like that's so stupid?
No, it's not stupid. I would look at that as I failed. So that's a different way in looking at it. Is to me, it's all or nothing. To you, it's 80% progress. But that's okay too. It's just two different ways. You know, whatever motivates you to feel good about it is the best way.
Well, I think this goes back to your earlier conversation. When I was not looking at my scorecard every single week to see like, this is outside of so cookbook is my daily behavior. Am I executing on the things I believe are going to move my goals and priorities forward? And then your scorecard are my goals and priorities. So it could be your rated pipeline. It could be, I don't know, your weight. It could be all different kinds. That's the scorecard. Are you getting the results you wanted? When I was not looking at that consistently, I felt like what you said before. I am running a race that has no mile markers, no end goal. I'm just waking up and just living my calendar. And I have no goalpost to see if I'm getting closer, getting further behind. Is it a good goal? Is it not?
So there's two different sides. So if I have the scorecard, which is only results and no cookbook, I'll feel like that I can never get to things and I'll be panicked all the time.
Yeah.
If I only had a cookbook and no scorecards, it feels stupid that I'm doing all this stuff because I can't measure anything of results. So you have to have both. And most people are missing the scorecard, which is the reason that they're tired, is because they go, I just have all this pressure on myself. I have all these things that I have to do. And their mind starts to race with overwhelm. It's because they don't map the behaviors that actually get them out of that to actually doing those behaviors.
Okay, I want to link back to, because you said if you're on the scorecard, you can't see progress. I was peeping some Slack channels at Element 3, and there was a message that said, hey, some of you have not gotten Brian, because you do coaching at Element 3. Some of you have not gotten Brian your personal goals so that he can customize your coaching. So I think we can sometimes think these scorecards are filled with business goals, like pipeline and whatnot. What are the kinds of personal goals that you would work with somebody at Element 3 or otherwise? Are those things that go on their scorecard? Is that you just understanding the motivations? How does that, this is what I want out of life conversation, connect to what we're talking about right now?
So the rule is if you don't have goals, somebody will make you part of theirs. So by default, no goals, no objectives. They're not written down. They're not formal. Somebody is including you in their plan to get to their goals. So I'm always in that mindset of I'm going to protect you from that ever happening by making sure that your personal goals are forefront so that you're interweaving what others want or need from you into what you want so that everybody is happy, not just one person. So it's not a motivation. It's that nobody woke up to do their job because they want to make the company better or any of that. They're doing it for a living. They're doing it for personal satisfaction and growth. That they need to acknowledge that and say, this is why I do this. So these are the behaviors and the activities that I have to have, because if you don't have that stuff, all of your cookbook is going to be things that the company needs you to do, not things that actually matter to you and are mapped out to your personal goals.
Do you find people are ever, I don't know if the word is intimidated by that question, or like, I don't know. I don't know what it is. And I'm embarrassed that I don't know what it is. Like, other times that you get that reaction?
I would put it at over 70% of people, that's their first reaction is, I don't know, or I don't want to. And it's this feeling of, I don't want to appear selfish is what first drives it. The other is that they lost the little kid inside of them that said, I want something, and it's okay to want. Or they've been burned by setting goals. And that is because if they don't achieve the goal, they go, oh my gosh, I've failed. But really what they did is they had the wrong timeline. So they're measuring this gap as opposed to the gain. That's what the Dan Sullivan, Ben Hardy book's about, is that you're not good at measuring backwards, and you're saying, oh, I didn't make progress. All you had to do is change the deadline. And then all of a sudden your goal gets achieved. So they're holding themselves too tight to a deadline. And that's part of the point of rolling into next year and having momentum, is that you're eliminating sort of the deadline because you're always just moving instead.
So how do you get people the courage to want some? I mean, I went through that where it was like, it hasn't mattered what I wanted for so long that it feels safer to just be like, I want whatever's in front of me, because then at least I don't have to long for what I actually want, you know?
Yeah. So the question to ask is, if I said, well, prove to me that there's a reason why you shouldn't want stuff or don't deserve stuff, they actually can't answer that pressure. You can't come up with the reasons why you shouldn't want or don't deserve. Even though in your head you feel that way, you can't come up with any rationality why you don't deserve stuff.
Well, I can see people, myself, in like, I want to be a servant leader. I want to make sure that there's enough capital in the business for it to grow. Yeah, I want my people to be able to have fulfilling careers here. And so if that means that I need to put myself on the back burner, I'm like, these are all choices I've made over time that didn't serve my own emotional runway with the job. You know, like, you start to just be like, oh my gosh, it feels so invisible. But it's things I think I would have said or didn't say.
So when somebody asks you what you want, you only answered for what you thought they wanted? Like, you didn't want to be a servant leader?
Well, I do want to be a servant leader.
Then don't say that that's not what you really wanted.
Yeah.
It's either you lied to people or you did actually want that. And it was in that moment important to you. I think a lot of times people did
confuse this factor. Confuse this thing.
No, I mean, it's sort of a sidebar, but I think people that have that feeling is that it's easy for you to say, well, you know, maybe I didn't want that after all. They sort of look back and go, maybe it wasn't that important to me, or I didn't want it. No, it was important to you. Maybe you're just giving up, or maybe you like the cushion of safety that if it didn't work out, well, at least I did it for them. I mean, there's lots of rationale.
Okay, in my outline, I skipped this earlier, but I think that it's relevant to this idea of, okay, this concept of urgency. So there's 100 days left, blah, blah, blah. There are times as a leader, you do need to use urgency strategically for the organization to organize around something. We've got a season that's going to be kind of crazy. What, I guess, advice or input do you have on when that makes sense? When it's overused? Does it fly in the face of this like drumbeat of having a cookbook that are tied to goals and these sprints of effort wear everybody out and don't do it if you avoid it if you can?
You do need resets. So you have to schedule and give space for time to reset and relook at things, because if you're just staying in it, you're making incremental progress. And the reset gives you a chance to look and say, how could we take this further? How could we examine where we at progress? My recommendation is to do that kind of twice a year. Once a year is to look forward at the year. The second time was to look at the progress and say, do I need to reset or recalibrate towards that? But going into fourth quarter, it's plan what you want, reset. What did you learn? How far have you come? What's left? What are you going for? And to name some dragons that you're going after so that you can start to get excited about that next phase, especially when you're tired. That's what gets you out of tired is I'm now excited about the next phase because I'm acknowledging the progress that I made.
So if we're sitting here thinking about 2026 goals, it's like, what story do we want to tell ourselves on January 1st? What story do we want to tell ourselves on March 31st of next year?
And then it's what do we tell ourselves on October 1st? So on October 1st is what do we need to do now to have the momentum built so that at January 1st, we're already moving. And that March 31st is, did that progress happen? Which means you're always doing that every quarter is what progress do I need to make? And am I building into that? Am I creating the momentum? Because you want the result to occur next year. I have to do the stuff that leads to the result. In other words, I can't decide to lose 5 pounds on January 1st unless I'm doing all this stuff in September, October, November, and the holidays to lose 5 pounds. And when I get on the scale on the 1st, but it's the same thing is what do I need to do? Build the cookbook, build the plan so that you're tweaking it along the way and making those little adjustments.
So if we're going to summarize the steps, can we do that?
Yeah. So what is my goal? What is my objective? What are all my goals and objectives? It's personal. What are all the things that if I sat back and said, this is what I want to happen next year, I'd be thrilled. That's it. Then it's what do I have to do? What habits do I have to have? What activities do I have to ensure that that happens? And when do those need to occur by? And build the cookbook and then build the scorecard that tracks the result against the cookbook. So that if your cookbook's wrong or needs adjustment or it's not moving fast enough or it's getting you better results than you thought, you could start to tweak it and either adjust the goal because you are allowed to change your goal up, not down, but up. Or what do I do to change the cookbook?
I think this core premise is I think this concept of the life of and has been building itself in my life for years as we work towards me bringing new very binary questions like, do I crush 2025 or do I plan for 2026? And you look at me with things of eyeballs that say, I think you got to do both. I'm like, I don't know how. You're like, yes, you can. Answer these few specific questions and then get to work. And I think this episode is like a summary of that. We are being asked to do stick the landing on the year, plan well for the coming year. And while I'm talking about this as if it's a seasonal behavior, I think what I'm hearing this episode is like, this is an every quarter behavior.
Yes.
This is the way that when you get into the rhythm of this framework that you're operating in this way all the time. And so there are not these like these big inhales and exhales and effort. So
it won't eliminate it, but it'll make them a lot easier to pivot from.
yeah, it's true. It doesn't eliminate them. And I think it gives you confidence. And like we went back to the earlier, it's like, when you don't have any idea why what you're doing, it does just make you so tired. But when we know why, it's just energy. So, all right. Thanks for this reminder, Brian. I am in a season of like full on sprint. And when we talked maybe a month ago, I was like, I had no energy. I had no confidence in my days. And I would like go to bed each night very uncertain about whether or not I had done enough or not. And I have put a lot of this very acutely in my life, the cookbook and scorecard in particular. And one of the things I've done is Sam, who works on a podcast with me, I show her my cookbook every Monday. And that visibility has created accountability for me because I cannot do it and nobody knows. And I need that visibility.
And she protects it then.
Yes, she helps me. That's exactly right. She's moving something this afternoon because she knows I don't have one of my scorecard items on track for this week, and she's helping me make room for it. You're right. So maybe that's the last one. Publish it to somebody who can help you activate around it because she wins in her life. Back to what we were talking about. Oh, good word. This is all coming together. I know what she wants, and she wins when I do my job. So I guess we'll end with that. As always, thanks for listening to this episode. You guys, I literally want you to be able to build your life of and in a way that you wake up feeling energized, focused, and like you are building a life that makes you and your family excited to just participate in this amazing gift of the day. So thanks for listening. If this episode has helped you at all, the fastest way to grow the show is for you to share it with a friend. So thanks for tuning in, and go live your life of and. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks for listening to The Life of And. This is your weekly reminder to keep making bold choices, saying clear yeses, and holding space for what matters most. As always, if you like this episode, I'd love for you to drop a review and share it with your friend. It's the fastest way that we can grow the show. Thanks for joining us. I'll see you next time.